Let's look at some of our local damage here in Kingston Springs specifically. Ryan Breslin has been out there this morning talking with people, surveying the damage. What's compelling to me, Ryan, is just all the things that are everywhere where you're standing. Stuff is everywhere on the ground.
Yeah, good morning to you, Lauren. And I just spoke with the fire chief a couple minutes ago. He says at this point there is only one known injury in this Kingston Springs area, and that actually happened right behind me at that mobile home. We know that there was a mother, her sister, and the mother's daughter were inside of that mobile home when this tornado came through. It basically almost flipped the home on its side. Rescuers had to lift it up and rescue all three people. The two were okay, the mother and the daughter were okay, but the sister is in critical condition. We also saw them then rescue a dog a couple hours later from that home. What you're looking at right now, that's an electrical company building. So you can see the sheetrock off and basically no wall right there, the roof off of this. We know from one of the workers who works here, he tells me that their back warehouse, which we're walking towards right now, is completely destroyed, and it actually held a lot of their light fixtures. I said to him, after this year that we've had, this is just another thing on top of it. And he said, I really don't know how we're going to recover. What you're looking at right now, look at this Ryder truck right here, this 2x4 that's going through the windshield of the Ryder truck. You have to imagine how fast this wind was going for the impact to go through like that. And you can see that some of the first responders are still out here from the Clay Lick Fire Department. We're walking right now towards Sneed Road. This is where a lot of damage is to homes right now. A lot of the homes are without their roofs. Some people are finally making their way outside. I have to assume that these are some of the residents that live down this area. But you can see, just look at some of the trees. One completely just broken off, and then there's some of the branches that are twisted around from how high this wind was likely going. Now, I spoke to one of the residents that lives on this road. He says that he's lived here, I think, about 27 years. He said they have never been hit by a tornado. And of course, seeing something like this is pretty devastating. This is what he had to say.
From where Dogwood is to the right-hand side, all the houses on that side of the road got hit. With people lost a roof, and luckily one girl that had a newborn blew the roof off her house, and she just so happened to wake up right before it happened and was able to get the baby out of there before it actually hit.
Yeah, so he was just mentioning that woman and the baby that were inside of that home. Like I mentioned, as of right now, we only know of one injury in this area. We do know that first responders had been knocking on all of these doors, even those ones without the roofs on top of them, with flashlights this morning. We saw them out there, and we just know that right now, as they survey this area, there are still live power lines on the ground, even though there is no electricity in this area right now. You just have to really take in all of this, though. Yeah. The way that the fences have come down, trees just blown right over, and realize that this is really devastating.
Oh, yeah. And it'll take a long time to clean up. Ryan Breslin, thank you so much. Want to go right now to Rebecca Cardenas. Rebecca, it's interesting as we look at social media, people post what's going on in their lives.
Yeah.
And that goes along with tornado videos as well.
Yeah, of course. And we're seeing a ton of them. I want to pull this up full before I hit play on it so that you can see. You're going to see kind of a flash of lightning and then a picture of a funnel cloud. If we can pull it up full here so that people can get a better look at it. And now I'll press play. See it there in the background? How scary is that? I mean,
oh, wow.
a big funnel cloud too when this video goes on. You can see it again there. It's interesting because you can only see it when there's like a certain sort of hue of light, I guess, there in the back. There it is again. Unbelievable. So this is in Central City, Kentucky. A lot of the images we're seeing coming out of the Kentucky, southern Kentucky area. here this morning, and I mean, there's just no lack of video that we can show you of these storms, sort of as they were forming, and then of course the aftermath and the damage.
Yeah, that's part of what makes it so difficult about doing severe weather here in Middle Tennessee, because it so often moves through overnight. So you hope people are prepared, you hope they're ready, you hope they're listening and have their phones charged, ready for these kinds of events. Jeremy Finley joins our coverage right now. Jeremy, you're in Madison right now. What did you see, not only as you arrived, but also as you were driving to Madison this morning? What do people need to know about what's happening in Nashville this morning?
Yeah, hi, Lauren. So what we have seen, and we've been driving through Madison for about the last 20 to 30 minutes, what we're seeing is what you're seeing behind me. Come on, let's take a look. So what we're seeing is sporadic damage, and it can be significant, like what you're seeing here. So obviously we've seen photos and videos of this all over the region this morning, but this is really, in Madison, what you're gonna see. I mean, we've talked about how strong these winds were to take that root ball, lift it up, toss it over, and then unfortunately land right on top of this person's house. So we've been driving through these neighborhoods enough to see that this is kind of what you're gonna see. This is where people have gone through the night, they have watched, hopefully have been able to see that the storms were coming. It's very quiet here. This is a very quiet neighborhood in the first place. These streets in Madison, just to give you an idea of where we are, if you know where Neely's Bend Road is and then Madison Boulevard, we're on Madison Boulevard right now. And you can drive streets, many streets here in Madison, and see nothing. Everything looks exactly the same. Then you can come across this, and unfortunately we've seen with tornadoes over and over and over again, and straight line winds, that this is how it is. It's a cruel reality of these winds and these kind of storms, that you can see this, and then you can go house to house and house. So let's go on down here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So when we're in these types of neighborhoods in Madison, we're talking about a lot of smaller single-family homes. A lot of people are waking up this morning and just kind of walking around to see. A lot of people are doing exactly what they're doing all over Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky, waking up and coming out to look at and see exactly how bad it is. So we're looking at neighborhoods like this where they've got trees down, they've got limbs down, they have power lines down. It was interesting when we were driving up on Gallatin Road to get here, we saw entire stretches of the road that had no power, businesses, houses, no power. Then we got closer to the interstate, power came back on. And then you get into other areas where there is no power. Not far from here on Neely's Bend, there was a police officer that had put some cones out to keep people away from a power pole that literally was just snapped in half. We saw one street sign totally uprooted. And then again, you can look like on this side of the street and every house is fine. There's maybe some limbs down, there may be some really minor damage that'll be easy to clean up. But if you're just now joining us, we are live here in Madison. This is Madison Boulevard. Neely's Bend is the big cross street. And you're seeing a lot of cars go by and people kind of driving around to look and see what the damage is. But again, the worst of what we've seen so far, and we're going to be going around to some of the other streets. We were just down on Emmett, which is a street just a couple of feet away, and it's a lot of this. Again, massive trees, and this one, I mean, it's so unfortunate. This beautiful tree has probably been here for decades and has been there for all this time, and it just landed exactly where you didn't want it to land. Which was to do that kind of roof damage. No clue at this point if people in this neighborhood have power. We haven't seen a whole lot of lights on. We've seen a lot of people standing around. We were just driving down the street on Emmett, came across a couple that had to put cones out on the street because so many people were driving down Emmett and there's a power line down and they've got a tree that has smashed into their carports, into their garage. We were able just to talk with them extremely briefly, and you know, the poor woman, she just shook her head like, what are you gonna do, right? That's what the expression was on her face, that this is the reality for so many people here in Madison. I know a lot of people here feel fortunate They're waking up this morning to see the damage in Kingston Springs, and of course everything that's happened in Kentucky. But this is, when this happens to you, this is substantial. This is, you're going to have your roof damage. You may have some water damage inside. If you're without power, if you're in one of these stretches of Madison that doesn't have power, the crazy thing that we know this time of year, it should be cold, but we tend to have, in my almost 19 years of working here, it seems like that there's always one weekend in December where it is warm like this. So the one fortunate thing is that it isn't bitterly cold, that it is somewhat warm this morning. That's one positive. But if you don't have power, it still is a really lousy situation to have to deal with. Insurance companies are going to be coming out here today looking at this kind of damage, looking to see what have happened to these homes. This is the sporadic nature of what has happened in this neighborhood and in this part of Madison. That people may wake up this morning and say, hey, look, my neighborhood's fine, no problem. But you literally can go 2 streets over and you're going to see a tree across the street, or you're going to see a tree in somebody's home. But having seen this type of damage so many times here in Middle Tennessee, you never like to see this. You know this is going to be a real problem for these people. But you're going to hear it over and over again today, that hearing the disaster in Kentucky, that people are really just pleased that there were no deaths in their neighborhoods and in the city. And that is something that we're going to hear about a lot, I think, in the next coming hours, is how people are thankful that it wasn't worse. Of course, we're in the holiday season. It doesn't make it easier when this happens in the holiday season. But, people are resilient here. They always have been. We're going to stay around in Madison. We're going to be going all the other streets and showing you the other things that we can here. And we'll be back with you and bring you some of those stories as the day progresses. Lauren, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Okay, Jeremy, thank you so much. We do know that there were no injuries, no deaths in Nashville and Davidson County overnight, so that is positive. Let's look right here. Nashville Emergency Management has put out this photo here. It's saying that personnel are out helping clean up all across the city, because while there have been no injuries, no loss of life in Davidson County, there is still a lot of damage, right? It's a lot of trees down, a lot of wires down, and we have about 86,000 people without power in Nashville right now. So that's the 400 block of Hogan Road. No reports of serious injuries right now. And 6 Nashville fire stations are without power since this storm. That's a lot, right? But don't worry. All crews are still responding to calls, and the outage is not impacting service. Matter of fact, Kendra Loney with Nashville Fire was telling us earlier by phone that they're actually going to begin helping others, sending their own crews out to surrounding counties that need the help. And a donut shop in Madison was also hit pretty hard overnight. This is McGaw's Donuts on Gallatin Pike South. Look at that. The sign there was toppled over by heavy winds. And we're told some of the workers were actually inside the store when the storm hit, because let's be honest, it's a donut shop. You got to start very, very early.
Right after the owner got here, it started raining pretty bad, and then started raining worse and worse, and we're like, better get in the office. We locked ourselves in the office. Right after we got in the office, the power just went out. And so we were sitting in the office. We're like, listen to the rain hit the wall, everything. And then it just stopped and got quiet all of a sudden.
Yeah, the Young, who you just heard from there, says the sign had been out from front since the shop opened in 1991. So this is a long time store here. They say that's the most damage they took, and nobody was hurt, so that's good. Take a look at this video here. This is out of Hermitage Cherry Creek Apartments, and you see the damage there. News 4's Marissa Sulik has been there with more, and this, you see the side of the building. Part of the paneling is off the building, and you can see the exposed trusses there. Lots of people are going to be affected by that. I saw on social media earlier today an estimation of up to 15 people being displaced for the moment, but it doesn't look like the building is destroyed at this point. Of course, building surveyors will have to go through and make that decision in the next few days. And severe storms have left several travelers stranded all across the country. Specifically, though, as we look at Memphis International Airport, several people are waiting for the storm to pass and then for their flights to, pick back up. And the weather is expected to continue just in the next little bit. It should be totally out of Tennessee within the next couple of hours. But of course, as you know, there's going to be the fallout from this over several states across the country. And brand new video into our newsroom right now out of Dresden, Tennessee, that's out to our west. My, oh my. We're told several homes and businesses have been totally destroyed, including the fire department there in Dresden. Even the mayor of Dresden himself had his home and his pizzeria destroyed. And we spoke to him overnight, and he had this message for the people of the city.
I want to know that we're doing everything that we can to locate each and every person that was in a home that suffered any damage, and that we're medical care, emergency medical care is on scene here in our community. Numerous fire departments are conducting house-to-house searches, and we're doing everything we can to secure the safety of the residents of our city.
Now, the city of Dresden is setting up shelters for people impacted by the storm. Let's go back out to one of our live crews right now. Tosin Vakile has been live for us all throughout the morning. Tosin, tell us where you've made your way to and about the drive on the way there.
Yeah, Lauren, so we're in Cheatham County. We're on Highway 70. So before we show you the damage, which I'm sure you can see behind me, we had to make our way around because parts of 70 was blocked. So we went parts of 40, then to 96, then driving side roads to get here. And this is kind of what we've been seeing, a lot of police cars coming in and out. Just take a look at that tree over there, just like mangled the way it is. Parts of this road blocked off because people driving on one side because trees have fallen over. I can tell you there are a lot of down power lines. Now we're going to pan this way. Take a look at this house. Part of the roof missing, gone, just completely blown off of it. We're not sure if people were in the home at the time that happened, and that's kind of what a lot of this scene looks like. Jared, if you can pan this way, show them the tree almost right behind you, this huge tree just uprooted from the ground, fallen over here, and we're just going to kind of walk and show you what this kind of looks like. Just a lot of down trees in this area. We've seen neighbors coming, walking in and out in this direction. Jared, be careful as you walk, and a lot of homes without roofs on them. We've seen a lot of law enforcement officers driving up and down this street. There are a lot of power lines down. Take a look at this house as well, missing parts of its roof over there, obviously due to the storm that came through this area. I will say, Lauren, something else that I noticed as I was walking is just how these trees have broken off the way they are. It's almost like a pattern with all the trees. It's either from their roots or their branches just cut off. Take a look at this right here. That ginormous tree fallen on that house over there. There's a car in that driveway as well. I've seen a few people walking in and out of that area by that house. They seem like they're okay. We haven't made our way over yet to talk to them. But I will tell you, this street right now is a very busy street. You can see cars coming in and out of this area. Piedmont Gas, obviously, a gas company, obviously, as well. We could also hear in our ears, there's people clearing trees down this road, down 70. So we're going to make our way in that direction and kind of give you just more of an idea of how much damage is in this area. But I will say this, if you do not have to be on the road here in Cheatham County by 70, try to avoid it. There's a lot of power lines down, and law enforcement officials are making their way, checking on people, surveying the damage. We were just talking to some emergency crews earlier, and they're trying to figure out where to set up a new command just because they said up and down this road right here, there is so much damage due to the storms. Back to you.
Okay, Tosin Vakile, thank you so much. And we've been talking about just the sheer size of this storm. Take a look. This is a live picture out of Illinois, all right? So this is about 25 miles away from St. Louis. So this is still kind of St. Louis metro area. This is Edwardsville, Illinois. This is an Amazon fulfillment center. And we know at least 2 people were killed in this facility last night because the warehouse collapsed during those strong storms as they moved through the St. Louis area. So again, this is just outside of St. Louis, about 25 miles out in Illinois. Amazon fulfillment center, 2 deaths. They're still looking to, they haven't yet confirmed that that's it. There might be more, actually, in terms of death and loss of life at that center specifically. So we'll keep checking on that as well. But it's interesting, Dan Thomas, you have been telling us for gosh, 6 days now at this point, 6-7 days, that this was going to happen. We needed to be prepared, and it was already showing up on radar and on the forecast. It's incredible. So Dan, when you're looking at this and you're comparing, just the perspective of our own issues that we've dealt with, most recently I think of the March 3rd tornadoes, how does this compare with what you've been seeing overnight?
Well, we heard the report before of somebody who was saying the Mayfield, Kentucky tornado early this morning, late last night, I guess it was late last night, may have been a long track one that was on the ground for 200 miles. Melanie and I were looking at the data moments ago, and it touched down around Jonesboro, it looked like, and if it didn't lift, it went way past Mayfield, Kentucky, so 200 miles. Now remember March 3rd, 2020, and this was the Nashville tornado. Touched down at John Tune Airport, just west of downtown, rolled through Germantown, Mount Juliet, Lebanon, and in time, the National Weather Service in Nashville said, you know what, it went all the way to Smith County, 60.13 miles. So if the Mayfield one from last night is really 200 miles, it was on the ground more than 3 times longer than the Nashville tornado. In what a year it's been. This is 2021 still, so we had all the tornadoes that we had last night. We don't know how many so far. And then back in May 4th of this year, we had 14 around sunrise. Unbelievable. All EF0s, thankfully, but they did a lot of damage. And then, of course, we had just 5-6 days ago, whatever it was, on Monday, 7. 5 of those in Middle Tennessee, 2 in Southern Kentucky. And what we saw with that one is 4 counties in the mid-state had their first tornadoes in December in recorded history. It was Coffee, it was over toward Trousdale, Overton, and Pickett counties had never had a tornado before, and they actually have now, and that happened this past Monday. So what a month it's been, and what a last year it's been, 2021. Now, I want to show you the Dixon one because this touchdown, it rolled into Kingston Springs, may have been on the ground the whole time, we don't know, but we heard before that it did a lot of damage. And according to, I don't know if it was the EMA gentleman out there, but he said, the damage on Mural Road, I've never seen anything like it in the last 15 years, what I saw there this morning. And so this W, that's the wind damage on Mural Road. This is as the storm moved through Dixon this morning. Time now, or at that time, was 2:45. And notice the rotation with that. There's Mural Road, and there's the rotation. So the wind's blowing toward the radar in the green, away from the radar in red. At that time, there wasn't much rotation producing debris in the air. But as soon as it touched down at Mural, watch what happens. We see a cluster of yellow, the cooler colors indicating debris probably from Mural Road getting lofted up in the air. So just awful as it rolled through Dixon County. Now things are in a lot better shape. Full when real-time radar shows rain in eastern parts of the mid-state. And in terms of cloud cover, we're all still mostly cloudy. I don't know if you could see this well or not, but the sun is still rising. This is a visible satellite picture, but this is all the cloud cover that still has to move on through. But it looks like back toward the Ohio River, we're finally seeing some sun. We'll see some sun in time. For many of you, that holds off until tomorrow. What a day it's going to be in terms of recovery and figuring out what happened last night and early this morning. Lauren?
Yeah, and it's so interesting because this is always, to me, like those opposite days, a backwards day where we start losing degrees as we go through the day.
That's right. It was close to 80 yesterday in Memphis. We made it into the 70s last night in Nashville. Late this afternoon, we'll be in the 40s. Before midnight, probably in the mid to upper 30s. So.
Wow. Yeah, so we need to get that power back on for everybody. Dan Thomas, thank you so much. Rebecca Cardenas, I know you've been scouring the internet at this point, trying to look for daytime video of some of the damage coming out of Kentucky. What have you found?
Yeah, we got some aerials in daylight out of Mayfield, Kentucky. That's a town we've referenced over and over again this morning that was hit catastrophically hard, and you see the evidence here in these photos. These are, again, aerial views of Mayfield, Kentucky this morning. These were photos tweeted out by a Kentucky state senator, Whitney Westerfield. I mean, it's just absolutely devastating. Reminiscent, Lauren, of what Cookeville, Tennessee looked like in March of 2020. Just completely flattened this town when you get some of these wider angle shots over the city. It just takes your breath away, really, when you look at it. And again, Mayfield is where we are talking about this candle factory that collapsed overnight. This photo, of course, in the dark. We're looking for lighter photos, but I think that this gives you a really good picture of just how absolutely devastating this is. This storm spotter on the ground Again, got this photo of a candle factory that collapsed. They said 100 people at least were working inside. And as we mentioned earlier, the Kentucky governor estimating very early that this would be a really high death toll. And we think that this, at the very least, is why, Lauren. But when you look at wider shots of the entire town, I mean, it makes you nervous as to what we're going to learn as the day goes on.
Certainly, because this is still a search and rescue operation. You know, they're still looking for people. There are people underneath all of that.
In this tweet, he says, right, in this tweet, he says that they had just pulled somebody out of there. So there were people trapped under that debris, possibly still are. He's saying here several days will be dedicated to this search and rescue. So it really is, it's hard to take in.
Yeah, and here we are just heading into the holidays. You know, I imagine this is going to be one of those things that people come from far and wide just to help. You know, just to do whatever they can. We've talked about Dickson County. We've talked about Cheatham County. But Dickson County specifically, a man there rescued one of his neighbors right after the storm went through. He did this even though as he was surveying damage at his own home. Listen to him describe the moment he realized his neighbor was in trouble right next door.
I started walking around, looking around, and the window upstairs got blown out, and then I come outside looking around, saw trees laying down, and then I decided I finally looked down and I saw her house. I went down there to check on her, and I seen half her house gone, and I got up and went and screamed in the house. I was like, "Are you okay?" And she answered, which was a great relief, and went in and got her out, and we brought her to our house and waiting till we can get out and she can get to her family. I don't really know what was going through my mind. It was just, let me just check on her. And I know it was a great relief when she answered. And then I got in there and, you know, the walls are laying down and there's no back door, and it's like, whoa. And then we got her dressed and got out of the house.
It's scary, though. The man said the woman was in her laundry room when he found her. Got some new video right now coming out of, well, actually, this is Dickson County again, I suppose. Nope, I lied. This is damage in Mayfield in the Kentucky area. Homes leveled, turned into debris, bricks and wood all over the place. We've continued to see just extensive problems there. There you see masonry just everywhere. And in Mayfield, a roof collapsed at a candle factory when the tornado hit last night. We say the tornado because it was a big one. Estimations at this point, because we don't have confirmation from National Weather Service, but the estimations are EF3 at least, but maybe more likely an EF4 tornado. We'll wait for final word. Certainly we should get that within the next couple of days from the National Weather Service. And this is the location you're going to see over and over again because it is just devastating. According to officials, well over 100 people were inside that Mayfield Consumer Products at the time. So my, oh my, this is something we will continue to cover. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear said he believes at least 50 people have died in this. And he says the estimation is it could be 70 to 100 people losing their lives across the state of Tennessee, the state of Kentucky, I beg your pardon, just from this event. So crews are working hard. They're trying to find people. It is a search and recovery operation, search and rescue. At least 4 tornadoes were reported in western counties in the state. And here's more now from Kentucky Emergency Management. Beg your pardon, we're not going to that. Let's go to some more video right here. This is video out of Bowling Green. Want you to take a look at it. This is what's left of a building that appears to have collapsed. This is on a car. You see the roof is slanted, dropping down onto the vehicle. The sides of the walls are totally gone. We're working to learn if anybody was injured in that, but our Lindsay Nance is heading up to Bowling Green, Kentucky as we speak, up 65 to Bowling Green. Once she gets there, we will certainly let you know. And in Mayfield, going back to Kentucky here, we know the storms tore down the courthouse there. Look at this. On the left, that's the after photo. On the right, that's the before photo. This looks significantly different than it's supposed to because there is serious, serious damage all across Mayfield. Now, according to a news affiliate in there, the Mayfield High School is opening a shelter for people impacted. Mayfield, Kentucky is about 2 hours northwest of Clarksville, or I should say, yeah, northwest of Clarksville. It is something that we are sending someone to. So our Carice Jackman is going there as well. And we do know storms hit across the country. This is a storm system that we've been tracking for days and days and days. So here is some of the damage out of St. Charles, Missouri. We know at least one person died. In St. Charles County, several homes were damaged, trees and power lines down. First responders say 3 people had to be pulled from collapsed buildings. So you see that? See the power lines down? That looks so similar to what we've been seeing all across Middle Tennessee and Kentucky as well.